Okay, so we will do the graphics for this Heroes project. So if I have a person like Antron Brown, I will go up to title and go new title, default still. Then it makes a title with a default of the frame size of the sequence, and I'm going to call this Antron title. Okay, hit OK. This opens up the window, text tool window, and I'm going to just click in here and start typing. And I'm going to type his name, Antron Brown, and I'm going to add an attribute. I believe he was the 2012 top fuel champ. Okay, goes off here. To move this over, use the arrow selection tool upper left, grab it and move it over. So champ, good thing I checked. Go back to the T tool, the type tool, and get rid of one of the M's. Now, I'm not going to use this font. It's because it's the default font, as good as it may seem. I'm going to just on principle change it. Okay, I'm going to, because it shows that I at least made an effort to change it. For now, I'm going to just use plain Arial, and let's see if there's something more regular. Arial bold. Okay, I'm going to use that. Also, it's too big, so I'm going to swipe Antron Brown and size that down under font size. Hover, move it down. Top Fuel Champ, same thing. Make that even smaller than the name. Okay, so right about there. And then now the problem is the spacing is too great between the lines. So I'm going to go up here where you have this double A and pull it up. Oops, I realized the number 2 of 2012. Okay, so yes, you can even size down individual letters if need be. Okay, that's why my spacing was so off. Okay, so I'm gonna move the, oops, move this back down. Okay. And I'm gonna put drop shadow so it stands out a little bit more. Scroll down here on the right, see the word shadow, check the box in front of it. Increase the opacity a little bit to 100%. And I'm gonna move this so I can see it a little better. Okay, somehow the shadow, okay, there it is. It has to be selected. Now, the shadow opacity is 100. There it is. And I'm gonna bring it a little bit closer, reduce the distance. Okay, your preference on this. Now, I'm gonna place it down in here, but I'm gonna right justify, since I'm gonna butt up against the right side here, and there's this right side here that moves everything to the right. And I think now that I have this small, I'm gonna actually finish the word champion. ION. Okay, so he's 20 top fuel champion. Okay, there he goes. Okay, so put it in the title safe, this inner box here, make sure it's correct. And I generally would suggest you put it in the direction in front of their face, as opposed to this to me feels like it's behind, right on him. It's a little bit too crowded. So move it out here to the right where you have all this negative space to fill in. Okay, so there's Antron Brown. Now, the trick about this is that there's no saving this. All you do is turn it off, which is hit the red button. And then the question is, where does it pop up? And the last thing I touched was probably this B-roll thing. So here it is, Antron Brown. I do have a folder called graphics. I'm gonna drag it down to there so it keeps everything organized. Then I will, if you double click it to think that you're gonna load it into the viewer, you double click, opens up the tile tool again. No, it doesn't work that way. You actually physically drag it up here, and then now I can edit it onto him. In and out, hit to, whoops, I gotta make sure my tracks are highlighted. And there it is. So ignore sequence source out point. And so now,
one day you could be a hero because you take the Wally home.
okay.
The next day you could be a
So the simple thing is, how do you animate that? Rather than have it just pop in, I'm going to select it and go up to the top here. It says Effect Controls, and open up the position motion thing. And I want it to be in by here, so I set a keyframe on position by hitting the stopwatch. I go back to the beginning of it, set a new keyframe there, and I'm going to move the position, the first number, it's horizontal, slide off to the left. So now the animation, when I play it,
one day you could be a hero,
it slides in, holds there,
and next day you could be
and then right about there I'm going to fade it out. So I go to opacity and set the keyframe there,
zero.
go to the end, set another keyframe, and make that 0. So that's a fade out. So here we go. Slide in.
One day you could be a hero because you take the Wally home, and next day you could be a 0 because you got
and fade out. So that's real simple. Okay. So now I have John Force here next. So since I went through the effort of picking a font, picking the size, the 2 lines, the drop shadow, the spacing, all that stuff, I want to be able to use this as a template for the new one with John Force without starting from scratch again. If I double click on this, it says here it is, and be careful, don't just start typing John Force here, because it will change the original one. So I want to make a copy of this, but it's new title based on current title, which means it will save all the fonts and the settings, which saves some time. So I click on this, and I'm going to call this new title John Force title. Okay, hit OK, and so now you can see that this file is John Force title. It's a little messy here. I'm going to move this up here out of the way, and I'm going to hit the T tool, select the top row, and just type John Force, and then click on his attribute, and you guys will find out the true attribute. I'm going to just make this up. I'm going to just call it, for the sake of simplicity, call it 2014 Top Fuel Champion. Well, he was actually a funny car, so he would be 2014, funny car champion. Okay? Now, I know that John Force, his head's on the right, so I'm going to justify this left. Okay? And kind of, it'll be down here somewhere. Okay? So now, to save, I again hit the red button. It clears it, and where does it put it? There you go, in my John Force, in the graphics tile, because that's the last thing I touched, which was Antron 1. So I drag this up here, and now I have John Force. Go to his edit, mark it in, mark it out, and just edit this in, period. Ignore source out point, always use this choice. And so here's John Force. Okay, so it's a little rough to see this white on white, but at least the drop shadow helps. And so if you wanted to, and I'm not suggesting this is the answer, but just to know that you can do it, if I double click on this title, I could put a little something behind the text to make it stand out a little bit, like a little background card. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the shape of this rectangle tool here, click on it, and just and I can just draw it a little thing like that. And then probably don't want white. Click on the color fill here, and I'll probably go to some kind of a blue color. Oops. And then hit OK. And now I have to white, but that cover up the words. So with this thing selected, I'm going to go up to title menu, go to arrange, and send backward. And there it is. So now it's behind it. Now the other thing that I want to do is, seems a little bit too solid, so I want to make it a little more translucent. I can rearrange this a little bit. If I start taking the opacity of this color down, which is right here, opacity, it makes it, why did it go darker? Well, Oh, because I have to drop shadow. So I turn off the shadow and then bring the opacity down. Now you can see through it. And so it's not that heavy-handed, but still helps out the thing on timeline. So I can just hit the red button, and there it is. So now it's in here. Okay, so I can still animate this. I select it, go to Effect Control, same idea. I think I'm going to use that as kind of like my motif. That I hit position, go in a second or so, or maybe a couple of frames, and go back to the first keyframe and slide it off so it comes in. Good. Do a fade out here. Opacity, same idea. Set my keyframe here. Go to the end and set another keyframe. Go to 0. So this is what you get.
Is that
Start line when it's side by side. You know, two of you going.
Okay, so that's real basic how to do text, how to create a template or reuse the template, and also how to create a box or anything else. There's a bunch of other shapes you can choose and all that. So for text, I think, you can always change the color of the font if you want. White is just happen to be the default. If I double click on it, if I want to change this text to, I don't know, it's selected, so let's see, make sure it's selected. Yep, selected. Color, you want to try yellow? Boom, so now you have yellow. Okay, so that's not bad too. That helps it snap out like that. So it's up to you. I would not get too fancy and do a different color for each person. I would like you to try pick a font and use that throughout the whole piece. Have some consistency and have a consistency of look. Okay, so that's the tutorial for text.